Welcome to another edition of Fall Rise Give. I'm Bob. That's Vipin. Today, a big day for Vipin and his friends out in Seattle. Super Bowl 60 going on later today, and I'm hoping, with my fingers crossed, Vipin, and hopefully we'll be able to manifest a win for Seattle because I am not a fan of the Patriots, and I know that there's going to be a lot of people that are be listening and be like, well, you know, I love they've won enough, they've been in the Super Bowl enough, and we need a win from somebody other than the Patriots, I think.
I totally agree, and the way that the Seahawks lost to them 11 years ago on the 1 yard line where they threw an interception instead of running the ball, that really broke not only the Seattle's heart that day, back in 2015, but what happened was it broke the team spirits. All the players fragmented, they were blaming each other, blaming the coach, and it was all downhill from there for the Seahawks. And so it's taken them a long time to recover from it. They got a new coach. He's great. He's very disciplined. Great defensive mind coach. Got a good quarterback in Sam Darnold, which we stole from Minnesota last year. He was doing really well for the Vikings, but they let him go. And it's a really good team. But at the same time, I was talking to one of my friends who lives in Boston, and he was out in Seattle last week, and he said, hey, you guys seem really arrogant and really overconfident. And so I think one of the problems in life is people get overconfident. And we're rated and we're favored, and so we have to be very careful. Hopefully the coach has got the players disciplined, that they're not overconfident. That's the biggest thing. Yeah.
Let's kind of talk about that a little bit today, because I know that both you and I have dealt with some struggles in the last while, and this past week I've had this really strange anxiety-ridden, I don't know if it's life or whatever, but I felt really anxious this last week, and I tried the whole calm, centered, and loving. I tried the whole breathing thing that we've worked on, that we've talked about.
Yeah.
And I still found myself with my heart rate faster than it usually is. I mean, usually it's funny. My resting rate is about 70, 72, somewhere in there, and it was about 82 80. I was going to say 82 degrees, but 82 beats a minute, and that made me nervous. And so then I'm like, doing the breathing techniques that we've worked on and, things like that. And I'm like, well, what can I do to make myself calm? And I found that if I put my hand right like this on my chest, right underneath my neck, and I just kind of sat there like this and just breathed and tried to just focus on nothing for a minute, and it kind of helped me out.
That's perfect. The doctors have talked about it, or a spiritual doctor or somebody. I learned this like 20 years ago. Put your hand on your left part of your chest. Where the heart is. The heart is to the left a little bit. Put your hand there and just kind of be present. Breathe and just be aware of breathe, which is exactly what you did. It's kind of funny how you naturally went there. That's one of the techniques that they say to calm yourself and center yourself. And so, yeah, that's a great technique. And it's actually been talked about by other people. So good job on knowing that or figuring it out through the higher powers.
Maybe we talked about it at one time, but like I said, I just did that, and I actually found that if I did skin on skin, so if I put my hand just directly on my skin instead of through my shirt, that did it a lot even faster. It made it feel, I don't know, made myself feel like I was getting a big hug from somebody that loved me.
Yeah. Touching is such an important healing period, as long as it's from the right person, and it's
absolutely,
non-professional situation. Yeah, so I think it's really important. I was feeling a little bit hyper yesterday. I don't think I slept well. I was waking up every hour. I had a project that I was working on the computer and on an app, and it was bugging me. And I could barely go to sleep. And I woke up and I did my normal routine, came out of the gym, and I just focused on. I went back to the basics. So I do some advanced mantras, right? We've talked about it. I do some advanced ones, but I always get back to I'm calm, centered, loving. And the other one that I added yesterday, and I think it's a really good one to add, is they're showing brain chemicals. Jim Quick posted on his Instagram. Jim Quick's a famous author, wrote a book called Limitless, and it sold like 10 million copies or whatever. Anyways, he posted on his Instagram yesterday or the day before that the brain chemicals are altered. They've done scans of people who feel grateful and the ones that aren't feeling grateful. The brain's dramatically different. And so what I started focusing on yesterday was super grateful. And it worked. I calmed myself down. I I was able to meditate in the morning instead of the afternoon. I ended up making plans with my family. We went out for lunch, went for Indian buffet. We hadn't done that for a while, and we had a really good time. And then the rest of the time, I came back on the computer and tried to solve that problem. It took me till 10 o'clock last night to solve that problem, but I was basically coding away, and it was just one of those days where you got to practice all your tools. You know, you're not going to be perfect. You're going to be anxious. I'm going to be anxious. We're going to get angry. We're going to get triggered. We're going to get whatever. Just got to get back to center. Just got to get back there as soon as you can. Sometimes it takes longer, and that's fine. Sometimes you need a little touch in your heart. That's totally fine. And yeah, so that's the big thing. And today what we're going to talk about is kind of, you know, being calm and centered, and then what do you do next? What's the next step that you want in life, and how do you manifest whatever it is that you want to manifest? You talked about manifesting the Seahawks win. I think there's a collective energy that, as long as it's not arrogance, as long as positive energy going out to them, they can manifest it. They are feeling it. The crowds and the fans makes a huge difference. A friend of mine's brother's down there in Santa Clara, and she was saying there's tons of fans everywhere. Tons of Seahawks fans everywhere, Santa Clara, because it's so close, right? It's an hour.
Oh, absolutely.
Hour and a half flight versus New England has got a 6-hour flight.
Right.
So let's talk about that today. Talk about manifestation. Let's talk about vision boards, something that I've struggled with, and visualizing and imagining certain things. So I want to talk about that today.
Perfect. And before we jump into that, I want to talk about the fact that, you know, it's also good to reach out to people and to, you know, to check in on people during the week. Like you and I had a conversation yesterday. We very rarely talk before we do our podcast, but you know, you texted me like, "Hey, got time to talk?" We talked for about, I don't know, 20 minutes. And after our conversation, I felt really good, and like we accomplished something, even though we were just kind of BSing just about life rather than podcast stuff.
Actually, I prayed before our call.
Really?
That it would go well. Yeah, I kind of did a little deep breathing kind of call, and I prayed about it. I just wanted to have a contextual conversation about where I see things happening. In the last month and a half, I've really accelerated. Like I said, we were talking about those email things that I was emailing to myself every night, things that I'm proud of, things that I'm insecure about, things that I'm, planning on changing or could do better each day. And so, so I've taken those tools and really been disciplined in my nighttime routine. I've always been disciplined about my morning routines, and really good discipline about reflecting and doing certain things. And a lot's changing. I have essentially raised my goals from, let's say, 40% to 100%. I'm going to talk about monetary value there a little bit. And so I have done that because of the progress that I'm seeing in activities and fruitful actions that I'm getting feedback on from people. And so I'm kind of being coy about it because I'm not ready to make those things public yet. I'll make one thing public, but so things are happening at a very fast, accelerated pace, which is what I want. And you and I started talking about it a little bit yesterday. And you and I are going to discuss in the next couple of weeks how we're going to change or manifest this podcast and just organically, change. I don't think the topic's going to change that much. I think it's just going to get tighter. I think it's going to get more strategic. It's going to get more focused, and I think we'll be able to promote it a little bit more, and we'll be able to, do certain things with it. And looking forward to it.
Well, one of the things we did talk about yesterday was, and you just mentioned it just a minute ago, like dream boards or message board, boards and
vision boards. Yeah,
I'd never done one before, and it's pretty cool because it asks the one that I use. Can we talk about that at all?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, you're working on an app right now that has a vision board built into it, a vision board maker, and it asked a bunch of questions, and it only took me a couple minutes to do, and I went through and I did it. And it's funny, I looked at it when it was done, and it's kind of the life that I'm living right now.
Yeah,
but it showed me the stuff that I was, it showed me the things that I truly love in life, that I truly enjoy in what I'm doing,
Yeah, exactly.
And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. And so what's interesting is I was talking to a friend yesterday. Um, she did a vision board, and her home and other areas that she was talking about, she's living the life of her dreams that way. So we call it the dream board quiz, and it really comes up with, after the quiz, the AI develops these really amazing, modern, stylish vision cards or photographs. It creates a vision board. And so it was really interesting for her to see that. For me, same kind of thing. About 30% of the things on there were things that I have manifested and I'm believing already. And somebody, I think it was my son, was talking about it yesterday, and he was like, hey, we don't always have to want more. We can just be happy with what we have. Absolute friggin' right on.
Exactly.
You got to be happy with what you have. That's the starting base. If you're not happy with what you have, from a standpoint of not grateful for it, you're not going to get more. That means you haven't earned more or earned the worthiness of more. So you got to be happy where you're at. That's where you start. And then you ask or want more, and you got to work hard, and you got to be disciplined, and you got to be consistent, and you got to take action, and you got to imagine and all that stuff. And then it's okay to want more, but you really got to be happy. That's where the grateful thing was coming in. And so yeah, the vision board is really cool. It's at a website called manifest360.app. So simple as manifest, manifest 360.app, A-P-P. And so it's a pretty brand new site. Some guys in the West Coast that I know, and I'm involved with it as well, are building it. It's pretty cool. That's what I want to be able to say. It's pretty advanced. Got a lot of tools in it.
There's a lot. I'm actually looking at it right now. I did look at it yesterday after we talked, and I did it on the phone yesterday. And today I pulled it up on the computer, and it looks great both ways. I'm just going to say that, because sometimes, Vipin, when you look at an app on the phone, it looks great. And then you pull it up on the computer, you're like, what in the hell? This is terrible. But this is good. I mean, this looks good on the computer, and it looked great on the phone as well.
Yeah, I know. I think, and you provided some feedback. There's clunkiness to it. It's a pretty brand new site, right? It's going to take some iteration. Since it's in beta, it's free for anybody to use. If you sign up in the first 30 days before March 14th, it'll be free for everybody for life. Basically, kind of like a beta testing of the site in a way, but it's pretty clean. Everything works. There's no bugs. I mean, there's always going to be some bugs, but it might be a little clunky here and there, but it's pretty good. There's a guy who founded LinkedIn. His name is Reid. I think it's Reid Hoffman, founder of LinkedIn, and he said, if you launch without bugs your software product, that means you launched too late.
Oh, that makes sense. That does actually make sense.
Yeah,
because and we've talked about this over the last 3 years. That, I mean, everybody makes mistakes. The thing is, the people that learn from their mistakes will be successful, and the people that don't and keep making the same mistakes over and over again will not be successful.
Exactly, and that's the thing: is get out there. Don't wait for perfection. That's basically what he's saying. Get out there, learn from it, iterate, and that's the whole in software development, which obviously I'm in and I work a lot on. What we try to focus on is iteration. So learn, adapt, rebuild, relaunch, whatever. And so that's the key. Same with manifestation, taking action. But I think the reason I talk about the vision board, and the site traffic started to go really high yesterday. It had more visitors yesterday than it had in the prior week before. And most of the traffic is coming from Facebook, and it's all organic. People sharing the links and things like that. What was interesting is, for me, I've struggled visualizing what I want. So I actually bought an app in December around New Year's off of Facebook, and the app was really cool looking, and he's got a little video there, and he's got some music and some meditation thing. But the vision board was horrible. It basically put together 4 little pictures. You pick the picture that you want. You couldn't customize it to anything. This app, manifest360.app, highly customizable images, all AI driven, looks like it's real. It's modern images. It's based on things that you type. It's really cool. I love it. And that's kind of why, for me, Einstein talks about imagination is more important than knowledge. Obviously, Mr. Disney talks about imagination is more important because he's all about imagination, right?
Right.
And have you been to Disney World or Disneyland lately or in the past?
When I was a kid, I went when we were in middle school, maybe grade school. That was the last time I was there. So it's been forever. It's a lot different. It's a lot different now than it was, I'm sure, when I was there.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't been for about 5 to 10 years either. But it's such an incredible place. The energy, the children, the kids. I say if you get a chance, take one of your grandkids or a bunch of your grandkids there and just watch them light up. Kids are just full of imagination, right? It's such an incredible place. When you imagine the world, what you want it to be, you get excited about it. That's why the vision board thing is important, is to get yourself excited so that you start thinking something is possible and you take action. But if you don't think you can, you won't. It's simple as that. So you got to imagine what you want and get specific about it. And that app actually helps you get specific. And then you got to have a follow-up plan. You got to get on tracking. What's your action? What's your goals? What's your purpose? And that app does all of that stuff there with you. It doesn't just leave you with vision board. But I think that's the key in life is you got to be consistent. You got to take action. And you got to learn and adapt. You got to reflect. Like I was saying, I was emailing myself. Now I'm starting to use that app to reflect and take action.
And it is about setting things up. And we've talked about this 100 times. It's funny how a lot of the things we've talked about come back in full circle. But doing things in small chunks rather than jumping in and thinking I'm gonna be a billionaire today. That's not going to happen. But if you'll be 1,000 today, and maybe a 10,000 tomorrow, and 100,000 and just work your way up and take those steps that you need in order to succeed.
And it's imagine. I mean, so I've talked about this analogy with you before. 2 planes leaving Seattle. One goes 45 degrees due east, and one goes 45.1 degree east. One ends up in London, the other one ends up in France. If you speak only English, you're in a great place when you land in London. But if you adjust and you go to Paris, you're going to be lost. So that's kind of the progress power of accumulation. That plane with just 0.1 degree difference. Imagine if you just took 5 minutes to reflect on a tool. Write down your goal. Like you said, your son keeps those goals in a notebook, right? He looks at his goals every single day. That's what you have to do. That's what Benjamin Franklin did. That site is based on Benjamin Franklin's philosophy. Do you remember those Benjamin Franklin organizers that everybody used to carry around in business?
The Franklin Covey ones, yep.
Yeah. The Franklin ones got acquired by Covey. But you're right. It did turn into the Franklin Covey ones. But that used to be just Benjamin Franklin organizers.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. Covey wrote a book. Do you know the story behind those guys?
No, I don't.
Okay. Let me tell people because it's really interesting. So back when I came out of college, everybody I knew in business would carry these organizers with them. These were Franklin organizers, and they would have your goals and your calendar, and it's like a big, thick booklet of what you got to do in your notes and all that stuff. And it was like a bit of leather case, cost like $120. Every mall had a Franklin store there, and you could go buy these organizers and the pens and all the paraphernalia, whatever they were selling there. And so it's based on the philosophy of Benjamin Franklin, which he talks about daily reflection and goal setting and taking action daily. And at the end of the day, he would check to see if he met those goals or not. That's what they recommend. So that was that. And then there's a guy from Utah named Stephen Covey. Back in I believe in the mid 90s, late 80s, wrote a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Oh, I remember that book.
Yeah, that book became a bestseller. And one of the chapters in that book, I remember reading it, I loved it. One of the chapters in that book, there's a story in there that I want to talk about. It just reminded me of a story. It's off topic, but I'll bring it back. One of the chapters is called First Thing First. And he talks about organizing your day in the 4 quadrants. Number 1 quadrant is things that you're working on that are kind of top of mind. The second quadrant are really strategic, long-term things that you have to work on. If you don't get those done, you're going to get stuck, long-term growth-wise. And then third one is things that you don't need to get done, but you'll spend time doing them, kind of wasting your time. And the 4th quadrant is the fire quadrant. When the 4th quadrant activities come in, it's all decks on hand. You got to spend time doing that stuff. It's just a fire, something goes wrong. Maybe there's a leak in the house. You got to drop everything else and do the fire thing. A lot of times, people who are not aware and not conscious will spend most of their time in the 4th quadrant. putting out fires all day.
Just putting out fires.
This is one of the number one reasons we fail in life. We fail because we don't spend enough time in the second quadrant, things that are really strategic. And what is the most important thing for an individual? It is, yeah, you got to earn money. Yeah, you got to go to your job. Isn't it to understand what's going on inside of you? What is it that you want? What is it that your goals are? What is it that you think about yourself? Relationships, your recreation, whatever. Be conscious. We go from maybe a workout if you're driven to the job, come home through traffic, whatever, have dinner. And then you spend some time watching a movie with the family and spend time. And if you're too tired, exhausted, maybe you're drinking at the bar, whatever. And then it's time for bed. And then you go back and repeat over and over again. Where is the time for self-development? I'm not even asking for more than 5-10 minutes. All I'm saying is spend 5 minutes thinking about pausing and saying, okay, what did I do today? What are my goals for tomorrow? And a lot of people say do it in the morning. Do it in the morning. You're putting out fires right away. You're checking emails and phone calls and you're ready to go. Do it at night. Do it before you go to bed. Spend 5 minutes in your room before you go to bed. Lay there, get on that app or don't get on that app or a notebook, piece of paper, email yourself off your phone, whatever. Reflect for saying, that thing that I said, what am I proud of today? What I'm insecure about? The third one is what could I do better? And then maybe take it a little further. What am I grateful for today? Maybe what are my goals for tomorrow? 3 goals, that's all I'm asking for. 3 goals is all what Covey said. 3 main things in the quadrant second. If you just focus on those, that's all you got to worry about.
A lot of things too. That'll calm your mind before you go to bed. I thought of that as soon as you said, "Don't do it in the morning, do it in the evening." And I thought, you know what? There's times that I go to bed at night that my mind is going a bazillion miles an hour, and there's all this stuff, and I'm trying to grab all this stuff and shove it down. And why do that? Just that would be the perfect opportunity, as you said, to go ahead, email yourself or send yourself a message or write it down or whatever. That way, it's off your mind. You'll be able to have a nice, decent night's sleep. You're not going to be tossing and turning all the time because because you got that 74 things up here floating around in your head. You've got them written down so that way you can focus on your sleep, what you need to do in order to rejuvenate your body.
And the most important part of that, and this is the first thing that we ask in that app when you email yourself, what are you proud of today? What did you do that you feel good about? We don't spend enough time on that. We're criticizing ourselves all day long. Spend a little time giving yourself a little pat on the back. And the more you feel good, the more good you're going to do. You'll be more productive the next day. You'll be able to be more kinder the next day. So what did you do that was good today? What are you proud of? And then what are you insecure about? What are you fearful about? What didn't you do? What could you have done better? And then lastly, close off with what are you grateful for? So proud of and grateful for are 2 separate things. You can be grateful for roof. If you're not proud of anything, roof on your house, food, living in the United States, got freedom, got protection by police, fire, all this stuff, got roads. People are not cramming through traffic all day long. Traffic is there, but nothing kind of like Asia or Europe or certain big cities.
Well, I've seen a lot of videos where that stuff just looks like hell on earth.
It's chaos.
Terrible.
I could not drive in India or China. I just no way. No way.
Absolutely not. Vipin, it seems like a lot of the stuff that we're talking about is retraining yourself from what, because when you're growing up, your parents say, don't think about this, don't do this, don't whatever, and I think that we're kind of changing that narrative, saying that you can think about yourself, and you can thank yourself, and you can do well for yourself by thinking positive things rather than the stuff. Because we're the same age, obviously.
Yep.
And my parents told me, it's not, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to do this. And but it turns out that I think that we need to do those things. We need to tell ourselves that it's okay to do these things and it's okay to feel this way. And it's all right to want to have better, faster, stronger, fill in the blanks.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody. There's a big difference with the new generation of people that are, I don't know if it's Gen Z or Zen, whatever it is after Z.
Right.
They are much more aware they're hardly drinking. Drinking alcohol is down like 70% in that generation.
It's even more than that. I saw a news report last week that said 80 to 90% in the last 10 years has just dropped off. And of course, that's how long I've been a bartender. Thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah. And so my son and his friends hardly drink. I'm
Right.
like, this is awesome. So the other thing is they care about balance and society and all of this stuff, right? They're just much more open-minded, much more present. They want to live, not live to work. And so I think they've kind of figured out that the Gen X and the baby boomers kind of did it the wrong way. And they're talking about their feelings. They went through this huge COVID situation where people started to have all sorts of depression and mental health, community issues. And they're kind of recalibrated themselves a little bit. And they're much more community oriented. That's kind of what I've noticed. And by the way, I do want to give credit to my son. Like I said, the Manifest 360 app, he and his friends were talking about it, and they're the ones that validated that name. I was thinking of the other name for that app, but they're like, everybody wants to manifest. It's a big word in their vocabulary. They want to manifest. I hope it's not that they want to manifest, I'm going to dream and create a vision board, it's all going to happen. I hope that's not what they're thinking, because that's not reality. You got to act on things. But yeah, it's really interesting to watch these kids. You can learn a lot from them. So let me go back to the story about being organized and Covey. So Covey bought Franklin Organizer and called it the Covey Franklin Organizer. So Covey told me two stories that were great. So let me kind of get emotional for you in one of the stories in that book. That was really awesome. And then I'll talk about a second story that he mentioned. So he said, I think it was him or somebody that he knew, was on a train in New York or something. And all of a sudden, a guy and his three boys came on the train. And they were making ruckus. They were rowdy. They were jumping up and down. They were not teenagers, but somewhere between the ages of 6 and 12, maybe 13, 14. Super rowdy. And Stephen is sitting there going, "Sir, you're not managing your kids." He didn't say that to him. He waited. And he just couldn't handle it anymore, be quiet. And he finally said, "Sir, this is out of hand. You're not managing your kids very well at all." And he's like, and so the guy replied back and he goes, "Yeah, I totally agree. I'm really sorry. We're just coming back from their mom's funeral." If that doesn't give you chills, I got chills just saying it.
You saw my reaction, correct?
Yes. And it just, I got chills through my whole body just saying it. Story. Empathy was a chapter in that book. Highly effective people have empathy for others. Now, let's talk about, we have to have empathy. We have to care about other people. That's a big part of our mission in life, my mission in life. Talking about first things first and getting stuff done and manifesting, right? So he says, focus on 3 things a day. 3 things you got to get done. And why he said that is this. There's a professor at a university. He had a glass full of rocks. A water glass. I might have said this, or he said, or some you heard it somewhere. And the professor asked the kids, the students, and he says, "Is this glass full?" They're like, "Yeah, it's full. You can't fill anything else in there." So he fills in small pebbles in there, and it looks really full now. And he goes, "Is the glass full?" And they're like, "We think so, but you're probably going to tell us something else." Then he adds in a little bit of sand, and he fills in the gaps. And they're like, "Is the glass full?" And they're like, "Well, keep going. You know, you're going to go something with this." Then he adds in water. Water fills in between the sand and goes to the top. He goes, "Now it's full." Then he takes a glass full of water, and he puts in a big rock in it, and it overflows right away. Moral of the story is, if you fill up your day with the 3 big rocks first, you can fit in the pebbles, the small sand, the water, small activities all day. But you focus on those 3 big rocks you got to get done. When you get those 3 things done, you'll won't overflow. But if you fill your whole day with dinky little stuff that you're putting out fires all day, and a big thing comes over, you're going to overflow and stress out. You're going to have tons of anxiety in that case. So it really is, when you set a goal for yourself for the next day, for the week, whatever, but really just for the day, set 3 things you got to get done. As you know, I manage a team of people, highly skilled tech workers, right? That's one of the stories that I talk about. People always have time. Like, I got to do 7 things. I'm like, no, you don't. If you just do these 3 things in a day, other stuff will fit in. If it doesn't fit in, probably wasn't that important. Just focus on 3 things. And as I mentioned on the self-reflection thing, just focus on those 3 things at the end of the night. What are you proud of? What are you insecure about? What could you have done better? Life's not that complicated. We make it so complicated. Check out the app, Manifest360.app. It's got all sorts of amazing tools in it. It's got blog content. It's got all these amazing things. People are spending between 3 to 7 minutes at first visiting the site. People are spending a lot of time on the site because there's a lot of great knowledge in there. Go create a vision board. It's amazing what technology can do.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Fall Rise Give, where we explore stories of resilience, growth, and giving back. If you enjoyed today's episode, please visit our website at www.fallrisegive.com. Also, consider subscribing to our podcast on your favorite platform and leaving us a review. Your feedback helps us to continue to bring you inspiring stories. Stay tuned for our next episode, and remember, every fall is a chance to rise, and every rise is an opportunity to give. Until next time, keep falling, rising, and giving. This is Fall Rise Give, produced by podcastforhire.com. Thank you for listening.